Coyote Ridge was known for its quiet nights, until one storm changed everything. When rancher Cole Maddox found a mysterious woman collapsed in the desert, he thought he was saving a stranger. But the moment he saw her swollen arm and the fear in her eyes, he realized he had stepped into something far more dangerous. As thunder shook the land, secrets spilled open. A federal scout on the run, a ruthless smuggling gang, and a venomous bite that was seconds away from ending her life. To save her, Cole was forced to attempt something no rancher ever should. A desperate risk that could cost him everything. But what he didn't know was this. The woman he saved was carrying a truth that could burn the entire Wild West to the ground. And when she wakes up, the real storm begins. The sun had vanished behind the jagged ridges of Coyote Pass, leaving the desert wrapped in a strange early darkness. A harsh wind swept across the open plains, carrying dust, broken branches, and the distant cry of coyotes. Cole Maddox tugged the brim of his hat lower as he urged his horse. Dustfire toward the ranch. He'd lived through dozens of storms in his life, but this one felt different, wild, unpredictable, almost angry. Fat raindrops splashed across his coat as lightning ripped open the sky, illuminating the endless stretch of desert in a blinding white flash. For a second, everything appeared frozen. Everything except a small, unmoving shape near the dry creek bed. Cole narrowed his eyes. Dustfire snorted nervously. "Easy, boy," Cole whispered, pulling the reins and guiding the horse toward the figure. As he got closer, he realized it wasn't debris or cattle. It was a person, collapsed half in, half out of the shallow ditch. Cole slid off his horse before it fully stopped and dropped to his knees. Next to the stranger, it was a woman. Her breathing was faint, shallow, and uneven. Rainwater trickled down her face, mixing with dust and blood. Cole touched her shoulder gently. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he asked, but she only twitched, a weak sound escaping her lips. He moved her arm to lift her, and the lantern he carried swung forward, casting light over her forearm. Cole felt his breath catch. Her skin was swollen angrily, dangerously, twice its normal size. Dark red streaks crawled up toward her elbow like lightning under the skin. A rattlesnake bite. Cole looked around the area, half expecting to see the snake coiled nearby in the rocks, but the storm had already washed away any sign. He knew what a bite that bad meant. Time wasn't on her side. The woman stirred, blinking up at him through the sheets of falling rain. Her voice was barely a whisper, raw with pain. "It's swollen so big, I can't move it." Cole swallowed hard. Her fear was written all over her face, and he could feel her trembling through the soaked fabric of her clothes. He didn't stop to think. He lifted her into his arms, careful but quick, feeling how cold she'd become. Dustfire pawed the ground impatiently as thunder cracked above them. "Hang on," Cole muttered, tightening his grip around her as he mounted the horse with practiced strength. "I've got you." The storm made the world blur and twist around them, rain pounding Cole's face as he pushed Dustfire to full speed. The ranch was still miles off, and the path was turning into mud under the hammering rainfall. One bad step and they'd all go down. But he didn't slow. Every few heartbeats he looked at the woman. She was fading, her head resting against his chest, her breath turning softer and lighter, almost disappearing under the roar of the storm. "Stay awake," he said firmly. "Stay with me." She didn't respond. Cole tightened his arms around her, urging his horse harder than he ever had. Lightning flashed again, showing the outline of his ranch house in the distance, barely visible through the storm. Just a little farther, just enough to give her a fighting chance. Thunder rolled across the sky as Cole tore through the gates of his ranch, the storm swallowing the last bit of daylight behind him, and the woman in his arms felt like she was slipping away with it. Lantern light flickered across the barn walls, throwing long shadows as Cole worked quickly, crushing dried herbs and heating water over a small iron stove. The stranger, Mara, lay on a bed of hay covered with a thick wool blanket, her face pale, sweat beading along her hairline. Every few seconds she winced, clutching her swollen arm as if the pain were trying to rip her apart. Cole knelt beside her, placing the warm poultice gently over the bite. She sucked in a sharp breath, her eyes squeezing shut. "Easy," he murmured. "This'll slow the spread." For a moment, she relaxed, until the small leather satchel at her side slipped open, spilling its contents across the floorboards. Cole froze when the first thing he saw wasn't bandages, but a silver sheriff's badge gleaming in the lantern light. Before he could touch anything, Mara's eyes shot open, Don't look in there, she whispered, trying to sit up but collapsing back with a groan. But it was too late. Cole lifted a folded piece of parchment, a wanted poster, its ink smeared from rain, showing the rough faces of a notorious smuggling crew. Beside it lay charcoal-drawn maps of backroads and supply routes. Another sheet held coded markings that Cole recognized from years back when trouble came through the border towns. He stared at her. You're not just some traveler who got unlucky. Who are you, really? Mara looked away, her jaw trembling with pain and exhaustion. After a long, shaky breath, she spoke softly. My name's Mara Hale, Federal Scout out of Dun River Station. I wasn't supposed to be seen, not by anyone. I was tracking a gang smuggling weapons across the border. They found me first. Cole felt a chill that had nothing to do with the storm outside. They did this to you? She shook her head weakly. No. The snake bit me after they shot my horse. I ran blindly into the rocks trying to escape. A pulse of frustration crossed Cole's face. You should have told me sooner. I could have. There wasn't time. Her voice cracked, her breathing tight. And I didn't know if I could trust you. Cole's stare hardened for a moment, then softened as he watched her fight for every breath. He understood now why she clutched the satchel like her life depended on it. It wasn't just her mission. It was justice, danger, and duty tangled together. She tried to reach for the poultice, her hand trembling violently. Cole, the venom, it's spreading faster. I can feel it in my chest. He touched her forehead, burning hot. Her pulse was weakening. Cole straightened, his stomach sinking. He'd done everything he knew, everything that was safe. And still the venom raced through her veins like wildfire. He looked at her arm, then at the storm outside, then back at her pale face. He knew what the old ranchers used to do in desperate moments. He knew how dangerous it was. Mara's voice faded to a whisper. Please, don't let me die here. Those words hit him harder than a stampede. Cole closed his eyes, took a steadying breath, and accepted what he had been avoiding since she collapsed into his arms in the desert. He would have to do the one thing he feared most, the one thing that could save her, or kill them both. The storm hammered the ranch roof like fists from the sky, but inside the barn everything had gone painfully still. Cole's hands trembled as he held Mara's arm, watching the venom spread in dark lines beneath her skin. She was slipping fast, her breath shallow, her eyelids fluttering like she was fighting just to stay conscious. Stay with me, Cole murmured, pushing sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. He'd seen men die from rattlesnake bites before. He knew the signs. She didn't have long. Cole glanced at the doorway, hoping for the impossible, that the town doctor might appear out of the storm. But no one was coming. Not in weather like this. Not in time to save her. Mara tried to speak. Her voice cracked. Don't let me fade out here. Those words cut deeper than the thunder outside. Cole swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. He'd always sworn he'd never try to draw venom by mouth. It was dangerous. It could kill a man just as quickly. But watching her slip away, shaking in pain, he realized he didn't have a choice. He muttered a quiet prayer under his breath, one he hadn't said in years, then leaned over her wound and did the only thing that might give her a chance. The bitter taste of herbs and dust filled his mouth as he worked, spitting out what he could, repeating the process again and again. His vision blurred, his chest tight from the fear that he might be too late. Mara's hand twitched. Cole froze, breathing hard, searching her face. Slowly, very slowly, the harsh tension in her muscles eased. Her breathing steadied, the rise and fall of her chest becoming less frantic. The angry swelling began to settle, only a fraction, but enough to give him hope. He sat back, panting, wiping his mouth with a shaking hand. Mara blinked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. Why would you risk that? Cole looked away from her and toward the open barn doors where the storm raged on. Lightning lit the sky in long white veins. He answered with a voice low and tired, but steady. Because you were fighting for something bigger than yourself. And no one like that deserves to die alone in a storm. For a long moment she just stared at him, her eyes soft with something deeper than gratitude. She shifted as much as her weakened body allowed and whispered, When I'm strong enough, we finish what I started. Together. Cole gave a faint, tired smile. You just focus on breathing. The rest we'll face when the sun comes back. Thunder cracked above them, shaking the barn walls. But for the first time that night, Cole felt a strange calm. Mara wasn't gone, and the battle that brought her to his land was now his battle too.